Subscribe for daily boxing videos. In this installment and on this episode of Let's Argue, we're going to be talking about the former unified heavyweight champion of the world and the so-called former undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And what I mean by that, I'll let you know right now. You know, every time people talk about Lennox Lewis, the Lion, they always talk about that he was the former and the last undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. They always talk about that. Oh, you know, when he retired after he beat Vitaly Klitschko, he retired as the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. That is a fucking lie. Lennox Lewis, I hate to break it to you, was never the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. If you want to be considered the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, homie, you got to have every single belt in your division. You have to have the IBF, the WBA, the WBO, the WBC heavyweight championships of the world. You got those 4 belts, you're the man. Guess what, homie? Lennox Lewis didn't have that. Lennox Lewis had the WBC, the IBF, the IBO, and the Ring Magazine championships. He never had and he never held the WBA heavyweight championship of the world. He also never had and he never held the WBO heavyweight championship of the world. So this is why I'm confused, people. I'm confused. Why is it that boxing fans consider Lennox Lewis as an undisputed champion when he didn't have all the 4 major belts? Why? When he retired, you know, this is what confuses me. A lot of boxing fans say that he retired. Lennox Lewis retired as the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, but he didn't. When he fought Evander Holyfield, he won the WBA strap. And guess what, homie? He vacated it. And what happened? John Ruiz fought for the vacant title. I think he fought with Evander Holyfield. And at that point, Evander Holyfield was washed up. And he beat him. But the point is, why didn't he fight John Ruiz to win back? Because he won the WBA strap. When he beat Evander Holyfield, he had the WBC, WBA, IBF, and the IBO strap. All he was missing was a WBO strap, right? But for some odd reason, he decided to vacate the WBA strap. And here's the problem I have. Okay, people say it was because I think he went to fight Michael Grant. But here's the thing. Why didn't he try and unify with John Ruiz? I mean, after he knocked out, you know, Michael Grant and Francis Botha and David, and when he beat David Tua, why didn't he think to himself, you know what, let me get back my title that I vacated to fight Michael Grant. Let me fight John Ruiz. Why did he never fight John Ruiz? John Ruiz spent like 3 years as the champion. He lost his title to James Toney in 2005. So from like 2001 till like 2005, John Ruiz was the WBA heavyweight champion of the world until he lost it to James Toney. And Lennox Lewis, during that time, he never fought him. And he also didn't have the WBO strap. So that is bullshit when people tell you that Lennox Lewis retired as the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, because he didn't. He did not have the WBO strap and he didn't have the WBA strap. When he retired. I know what you're going to say. Oh, the reason, because I see people say this all the time, the reason Lennox Lewis never went back to fight for the WBA title or the WBO strap was because back then, back in the 90s, the WBA and the WBO championship of the world, those titles were irrelevant, basically. They were both like the IBO strap. Like right now, when you think about the IBO strap, if you think of a champion who holds the IBO strap, you don't consider him the champion. No matter what division he's in. If you see that he has the IBO strap, you just look at him like, okay, that's a useless, worthless title that he has. You know, that's how people feel. So basically, what people try to tell me is, well, back in the year 2000, back in the 90s, the WBA title and the WBO title were basically like the IBO titles of today. They were useless. So therefore, Lennox Lewis, you know, didn't bother to fight for the WBA strap or even the WBO strap because they were useless. Well, here's the problem with that. If they were useless, why did he fight for the IBO strap? He fought for the IBO strap, which was absolutely useless, right? Right now, to this day, 20 years later, the IBO strap is still considered a useless title. So why did Lennox Lewis, you know, elected to fight for the IBO strap? He fought for the IBO strap and he won it. Why did he elect to fight for that useless piece of shit title, but he didn't elect to fight for the WBA strap or the WBO strap? Why? And again, maybe this is just my ignorance, guys. I'm a young boxing fan. I wasn't, I was alive, but I wasn't, I was like a child back in the 90s and late and early 2000s. I was just a kid. So maybe you could educate me on this. But let me know. Like, just educate me. Let me know. Why is it that he never fought for the WBA Heavyweight Championship of the world? And why is it that he never fought for the WBO Championship of the world? Again, if they were so, useless, like a lot of you guys claim, why did he even bother to fight for the IBO strap? If they were so useless, why was he defending the IBO strap? Why didn't he vacate it? He vacated the WBA strap. Like, he could have, in my opinion, I would have picked him to beat John Ruiz. Why didn't he, in the last 2 years, because he vacated that belt, Lennox Lewis vacated his WBA heavyweight strap in the year 1999. That's right, 1999. Lennox Lewis retired in the year 2003. So for 4 years, he never attempted to fight the champion of who held the WBA. In those 4 years, when Lennox Lewis vacated that WBA heavyweight strap, you know who was holding on to that WBA belt? John Ruiz. He was holding on for that belt for like 4 years, or until Lennox Lewis retired. How come Lennox Lewis never thought to himself, "Let me fight John Ruiz. I want to take his belt"? He never fought. Why? John Ruiz even came out. I saw a article of his a long time ago saying that Lennox Lewis ducked him. So maybe that was the case. Maybe Lennox Lewis did duck John Ruiz, but people just want to stay hush-hush about that and not say nothing because they perceive Lennox Lewis as some type of, god in the boxing community. If you think about it, Anthony Joshua currently has more belts than Lennox Lewis, because Anthony Joshua is the IBO, IBF, WBA, WBO heavyweight champion of the world, homie. He just doesn't have the WBC champion. But when Lennox Lewis retired, he only had the WBC championship, the IBO shitless title, and the Ring Magazine lineal heavyweight champion titles. He didn't even have the WBC or the IBF he didn't have the IBF title. So again, he didn't retire undisputed, and he never was undisputed. He never had all 4 major